listening to the Becoming More Me podcast with me, Theresa Lear Levine. You're already enough. But if you're anything like me, you thrive when you're stretching and developing yourself, creating more of the person you feel called to be. This podcast is here to inspire and support you. Let's release the negative, reinforce the positive, and elevate our vibe together as we tap into our limitless potential to transform and grow. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today to another episode of Becoming More Me. Now, you all know I love money. We've had some great episodes in the last couple of months where we've looked at deeper aspects of money mindset, and we're going to check it from yet another angle today. It can be a real stuck point for so many women and, living in debt, feeling like they're never going to make it or that they're creating or earning, but it's never going to be enough. And that's where work with money mindset, our energy, our chakra blockages, our intentions, our nervous system, and also healing our past and deep ancestral wounding can make a huge difference in the way that we regard money, as well as the way we attract it. Dare I say, these breakthroughs not only make a huge difference in our bottom line, but are also quite satisfying as they build our self-trust, our confidence, and our intuition. So my guest today is Hanna Bier, and she works with ambitious women all over the world to recreate their relationship with money in a life-affirming, positive, and loving way. She's an energy healer with clairvoyant abilities, a family constellation expert and certified life coach, and she's used her diverse skill set to help her clients transform their relationship with money from the inside out. As she discovers the deepest money blocks in her clients' energy systems, they can be released through her proprietary methodology, and then abundance opens up in an entirely new and inspiring way, helping them to rise to new levels of success, seemingly overnight, and become more radiant leaders of their communities as they enjoy a new sense of overflow, ease, fulfillment, and joy in all aspects of their lives. Sounds amazing. Welcome to the show, Hanna. I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so honored to be invited. Thank you so much for having me, Theresa.
Did I say your last name correctly?
It's Bier.
Cool. I did. All right, good. I wanted to make sure, and I felt bad because I didn't check with you before we started recording, but we nailed it. All right. So before we get into some deeper questions, I'd love to hear more about you personally, about the amazing way that you're helping women heal. We'll get to that later. But tell us about you, where you live, your life as a mom, maybe some hobbies or interests that you have outside of your business focus.
Absolutely. So my mom is German, my dad is American. I grew up in Germany and then lived all over the world. And I just recently actually moved back to Germany, and I never thought I would, but my intuition always tells me the craziest things to do, and I always do them, even though at first when I hear it, I'm like, we're doing what now? So that was in February this year that my intuition was like, it's time to move to Germany. You have to move to Germany. And at the time, we were looking at houses that we were considering buying in Northern Ireland. So we were looking at houses, and my intuition was like, no, you're moving to Germany, which is obviously very inconvenient to just be told something like that. So I moved to Germany just a couple of months ago with my young family. I have a little daughter called Grace, who is so cute. She'll be 2 very soon. We live in the south of Germany, and this is where the fairy tales were written that all of us love, or at least I love them. So there's like rolling hills, we're surrounded by forests and strawberry fields, and there's apple orchards everywhere. It really looks like we're living in a fairy tale, and I love
Sounds magical. Sounds absolutely magical. So where were you? You were looking for houses in Northern Ireland. You ended up in Germany. Where were you living before that?
In London.
Okay. Gotcha. So you're making your way all over the place. That's amazing. I love travel. I have missed it terribly over the last couple of years, and I've been living vicariously through the likes of you. So I hope to see lots of pictures of the strawberry fields and the apple orchards and all the magical surroundings that you have. Now, you mentioned in conversation, emails and things leading up to our interview that you spent 7 years trying to answer the question of, is it possible to create wealth without compromising health, wellness, or happiness? As in, can we actually create abundant lives while living a life of joy? Can you fill us in on what that 7 years was like and the conclusion you came to and how you got to it?
Yeah. So it's actually quite a joke, like a weird cosmic joke that I'm now working on money, that is my passion and one of my big interests in life because I had all the money blocks, like everything that you could think of, like completely scared of money, deeply believing that I could never be a success financially. I'm always feeling like I couldn't buy that or I couldn't do this because of money and just feeling really ashamed and inadequate around it. And when I was in my early 20s, I started to, go on the internet and I started to do some research and stuff. And so the messages that I found was, earn six figures a year. And then it was earn multi six figures a year. And then that was seven figures a year. And now it's multi seven figures, eight figures a year. And it just, and I thought, okay, so that's possible, but my body felt really stressed out by that. So I internalized the message of, okay, so you always have to earn more money, and that's what gets you to this destination called abundance, where life is easy and awesome. Like that's kind of what I understood at the time, which I now know is like couldn't be further from the truth about abundance. And so I kind of went on this path of at the time I was a life coach working on emotional healing with my clients, and a lot of their emotional distress was also around money. So I got really curious and I thought, why is money such a source of stress and shame and confusion for all of us? And then if the path that I started to discover was all about earning more and more and more money, like that doesn't actually feel happy and well and healthy and safe in my own body. So I started to go on this journey of working with upon hundreds of women around the planet, just really trying to figure out, is it really possible to be blissfully happy with your money in a world that thrives off of our dissatisfaction, right? Like capitalism isn't interested in us just being content and happy with where we are. Like this is not how you sell anything.
Right.
So I started to discover a sweet spot where you can be so content, so peaceful, so satisfied, always have plenty of money for what it is that you would like to do, where you can focus on what truly makes you come alive, whether that's your family or a creative project or a travel, whatever it is, where you can feel so whole and happy and at the same time allow your life to grow according
Yeah.
to, your own soul's path on this planet.
That is amazing. And you define that as money bliss?
Yeah, my mentor asked, I just, I was working on like my niche in my business was something entirely different. And then I had my daughter Grace and I was talking to my mentor and I was like, this money thing has been fascinating me for almost my entire life.
Yeah.
And we just started talking about money. And then she reflected back to me that when I talk about money, I kept saying, people don't know that it's meant to be blissful. People don't know that being in a really good flow with money is actual bliss. Like it is a really beautiful, enlightened feeling because money goes to the deepest roots of our being. It's about safety. It's about having our needs met. It's about receiving love in the form of money. It's about having options. It's about being able to express ourselves. It's about like all these like deep, deep, deep qualities. And I believe that money is a beautiful opportunity to experience just how beautiful and whole life can be.
Absolutely. I mean, I love money. I love it for what it teaches us about ourselves. I love it for the way it supports us. I love it for the way that it works with law of attraction. I love it for the abundance that it brings to our life, the way that it can help us to do more in the world, and the way that it can help us to magnify our own purpose and to help us to help more people in greater ways. It's so good, and yet we get hung up on so many of the downsides of it or the things that have been ingrained in us subconsciously a lot of the time, more than even consciously. So that's really awesome. I would love to hear more about family constellation therapy. I know that's an area of expertise for you. And what does it have to do with money?
I love this question. So, everything that I've discovered and everything that I teach is something that I've discovered in my own relationship with money and my clients' relationship with money. Like, it's all a big experiment to me because I'm like, why? Like, I read this statistic. I think it's the American Association of Psychology, I think, that released a study saying that 72% of Americans say that money is their main source of anxiety. So I'm just like, money, like
I'm
something,
almost surprised it's not more.
right? I wonder,
Sadly,
like,
but yeah.
yeah. I wonder if the pool of people who they ask who are already people who are, having access to the internet, right? Like that
Yeah.
already eliminates a lot of people. But it gives me chills to think that so many of us struggle with money. And it may not look that way on the outside. We may come from family wealth. We may have husbands that are doing really well. We may have high paying jobs. We may, have enough, but for many of us, it still doesn't feel enough. And so for me, that's just mind blowing and so curiosity inspiring. And for many, many years, I was trying to fix myself. So I did. I read all the books, I listened to all the podcasts, I tried to work with as many coaches as I could. I was doing my affirmations and everything. And I was learning some things, but I have to be completely honest with you. Like the actual numbers on my bank account and how I was feeling in my everyday life still was, not good at all. And so I was on this mastermind call, and there was a guest teacher called Natalie who talked about the impact of her family. And I remember sitting there just being like, what do you mean? Like our family impacts us, in this way. And she started talking about how the love the love that we experienced between our caregivers when we were little, between myself and my mom and my dad,
Yeah.
directly correlates with how money flows in my life today. Because when we were little, our parents were supposed to be our main source of, meeting our needs. Our parents were supposed to keep us safe, provide shelter, provide food, provide love, provide, variety and play and stimulation, all of these things. And, none of us had perfect parents, right? So they did some things well and some things we missed out on.
Sure.
So ideally, if we had had perfect parents, like all of our needs would have been met through them. Now, as we grow up, money becomes like the third parent behind us who is now the main source of those needs. Our parents are irreplaceable. They will always matter. They will always be so incredibly important in our lives. They gave us the greatest gift anyone could have given us, which is the
Right.
gift of life, right? We wouldn't be here without them. And now that we're adults, it's not our parents who give to us, it's actually us with the use of money who give to us. And I sat there on this call being like, man, I've been like looking in all the wrong places. And it really opened up this idea that, money and family healing go hand in hand. From there, I discovered, my family lineage. My grandparents on my mom's side were both refugees during World War II, lost everything, arrived in Germany, had to start from scratch. And every single family member on my mom's side has this deep body feeling of it could be taken away at any point. And I had it. And it did not reflect my day-to-day experience. So even when I had money, I was like, I'm going to have to hold on because this could be taken away in an instant. So from there, I went on this journey of discovering my own family impact when it comes to money and the wiring that was really in my body. And I also started to ask my clients lots of questions like, so, you know, what type of work did your parents do when you were little? What messages did you hear about money? Did anyone in your family receive a big windfall of money, or did anybody in your family try to start a business and it didn't work out? All of these influences matter. So here we are as adults, wanting to reach our money goals. We work really hard. For many of us, it's not working. And so like our family history to me is like what's hiding in plain sight. It's the
Right.
elephant in the room that most of us that we're not addressing because we think it's just a matter of willpower or discipline or, hiring the next business coach. And it's not that.
No, definitely a lot deeper than that. So you find those blockages, you figure out those things that are hiding out in people's past. Then what is the process for actually unblocking that with yourself or your clients?
Yeah, so family constellation therapy works in the energetic field of your family system.
Okay.
So many of you guys are probably, you've heard before that every person has an energetic field around them. Many people call it the aura, some people call it the soul. So you've got an energy field around you. In the same way, your family system has an energy field. In biology, this is called the morphic field. One of those examples is a flock of birds flying in a V formation. So the birds could fly in any direction, right? But there's an energy field uniting them, kind of grouping them together and imposing order upon the individual. So it's like the consciousness of the morphic field of that flock of birds tells them, to fly in a V formation or to migrate at certain times of the year. Like this consciousness of that flock of birds is incredibly wise and is guiding their behavior. It's the same for humans. Your family has a consciousness. And so you may be trying to move in a certain direction. You may think, my family have never allowed themselves to fully express themselves creatively and do work that really enlivens their soul. And I'm going to go step out of that. I'm going to go create that. And then as you go in that direction, you might notice almost like invisible hands are holding you back.
Yeah.
Like no matter how hard you try, you just can't seem to reach your goal. It's like you're in a dream, like you keep walking, but you can't get there. And it can feel dumbfounding because maybe in many other ways in your life, you've been quite successful. So why the heck is this not working? And it's the family consciousness trying to keep you in line with your family, because family constellation therapy teaches that your number one need as a human being is to belong.
Absolutely.
Belonging to your family is more important than being rich, being skinny, everybody liking you, having the biggest Instagram following, and all these like goals that we set for ourselves.
All those
Belonging to your
tribal
family.
beliefs and things that we carry along with us. Like in my work, this would be like the lower chakra work. So I don't know if you do things that are related with the chakras at all, but it sounds like it's kind of similar, like in really calming the nervous system around the lower energy centers. But that's amazing. And so you're working with the aura, the soul, the energy field to unblock.
We're working in the morphic field of the family. So every single soul, whether any person who ever belonged to your family system is connected to this morphic field. Doesn't matter if they're deceased, if they're in jail, if they're incarcerated. Doesn't matter if you're in touch with them or no. Many of us have experienced really difficult things with some of our family members, and it doesn't feel safe to be in touch with them. Many of my clients have been adopted, and there's so much trauma, and it can be processed and healed in the family system because all of those experiences are present in the field of the family. So in family constellation therapy, we go into the field of your family and we do healing in that field. In this line of work, it's called doing constellations. It's really an energetic healing modality that brings order and harmony and hierarchy into your family of origin and allows love to flow. So if you remember what I said earlier, the flow of love between you and your main caregivers is directly correlates with how money flows in your life today, because money is an expression of love, and how you learn to allow love to flow happens in your family. I'm going to say this again to really let it sink in. So the way love flows in your family of origin directly correlates with how money flows in your life today. If there is a strong, open, healthy, beautiful flow in your family of origin, then your money will be allowed to flow as well, because you've got the inner capacity to allow yourself to receive that much love, that much safety, that much well-being, that much, connection with others, all the good things that success and money can bring. And it's a body capacity that increases.
Amazing. I love all of that. I mean, energy really is everything on every level, is what's affecting us, propelling us, or holding us back, depending on how we're allowing it to flow and to work in our lives. So that is so cool. What are the biggest lies that you think women, especially, business owners and, other ambitious women, are being told about money?
I could rant about this, Theresa.
Go ahead. Let it out.
Forever. I'm always a little like boiling angry because the lies about money are everywhere and we feel it in our body. So first of all, for anyone listening, you've got a feeling of truth in your own body, and your body will never lie to you. So
intuition.
right? And it's going to scream if needed. It can be subtle, it can scream, but your body loves you so much. It is always, always, always going to be honest. So if you're, consuming information on money in some way, whether it's like you're reading a blog post or you're on the internet, on social media scrolling or whatever it is, and there's like a sour feeling in your mouth where you're like your stomach drops and you're like, ugh, that's how you know that something is not true. And some lies that especially rub me the wrong way is the whole idea that you always have to earn increasingly more money. And it's what I talked about earlier. It's the thing that made me so incredibly anxious in my early 20s because it's like we're moving into superlatives, right? When I started out in my business, like earning six figures a year was the greatest thing. Like you made it when you made that much. And then it was multiple six figures, seven figures, eight figures. We're going to be billionaires next. Like it's always more and more and more and more and more, which energetically translates into not enough. It's about like we live with this deep sense of not enoughness. And it perpetuates the lie that abundance is a destination out there that you can reach and then you'll be fine. When,
Right. I always
try the
like
thought
to
in your
flip
body.
I like to flip that lie to appreciation, to the fact that as we see people being able to earn more than six figures, multiple, seven, eight, that it's possible, that abundance is
Mhm.
unlimited, that we have unlimited potential, and that, it's not, it's not a downside necessarily. But yeah, I totally relate with that other side of the coin of, oh, I'm never going to get there. It's not enough. How am I ever going to, keep up with all the people that are doing that? It's not available for me. I'm separate from that. I'm not part of that, that thought. So yeah. What other
Yeah,
lie?
it's the distinction. Like, are you gonna focus on trying to grow the tallest tree, or are you gonna allow your garden to thrive? Like that's more how it feels to me.
Yeah.
Because money wants to grow, it wants to stay, it wants to enrich you, it wants to hold you safe, it wants to love you. But it needs to come from when you come from a place of not enoughness and always wanting more and more and more, that's not actually going to create the wealth that you want. And like the paradox here that I discovered is that abundance is an embodied state. It's an embodied everyday practice. Abundance is not about what you accumulate. Abundance is about who you are. It's about what you're embodying. And a natural side effect of that is an increased inner and outer capacity to retain financial resources, which are lovely, like we love increasing, like in my line of work, like we love helping people get to six figures in savings and beyond and to double, triple, quadruple their income every year. Like that's fun. Of course, having a lot of money is fun. And I'm very passionate about still telling people the truth that abundance is an embodied state. Like it is not a destination. You can begin to live an abundant life right in this moment when it's almost like it's like a coat you're putting on and you start to wear it and you start to embody and live it and breathe it. And a natural side effect of that is wealth. But the lie is that wanting more gets us to more. Because I'm sure many of us have been in that place where we're like, I really want to sign that client. I really want that promotion. I really want, like, I've never been able to create anything this way.
No, the universe doesn't understand that language.
Mm-mm.
Not even a little bit, just keeps giving us back more of what we already have if we're in that state of lack and that state of want instead of the state of appreciation, for sure. So yeah, those are definitely great lies that I think anybody I know, I think, has at least told themselves those lies at one point or another, I myself included in some form. So they're definitely worth making breakthroughs on. And why do you think it's so uncomfortable for women, the subject of money and getting comfortable with it and becoming embodied in their abundance?
Yeah. I mean, historically speaking, especially in the past, decades, women have been the caretakers. Women have been the sacrificers. We have been the ones to, if I'm allowed to exaggerate and generalize a little bit, we have been holding society together with our unpaid, often unappreciated labor. We're the ones who raise the kids, who cook the meals, who do the emotional connecting work. And um, often
Dare I
when we're
generalize further to say overworked and underpaid?
You know what I mean, right? And so when we're in a state of like we're being bred to be caregivers and we're wired to like give, and our capacity to be great receivers, we
Mm.
just haven't allowed that as much. So there's like a body discomfort of like, what do you mean? You know, because money is all about being like soft and receptive, right? Like you need to be a little mushy in order to allow goodness and loveliness in. But all we're doing is like give, because that's like the myth of the good girl, right? If I can like bend over backwards for you and like do everything for you, then hopefully, you'll give me a little bit of love. And so I think it's actually a really big feminist shift for
Yeah.
women to say, I deserve to feel safe and relaxed. I deserve to have all of my needs met, all
That
of
I
my
am
desires fulfilled, and
worthy
I'm not
to be worthy of
compromising.
it.
I am worthy of it. Yes, and the other side of the coin is that many of us didn't experience, growing up what it feels like to have all of our needs met. So our body doesn't even understand that that is possible.
Right. Yeah.
So
That's a
again,
good
like it's
point.
the family and then it's a personal wiring that really impacts this.
Right. So, what kind of shifts and changes have you noticed with yourself or your clients once the unblocking of these things happens and things are set right in their morphic field?
Yeah. So firstly, when people come to me, I love telling them what I call the truth about money that I have discovered and continue to discover, like the good news about money. And something in their bodies then kind of like it remembers and it feels lighter, it feels better, it feels more doable. The message sinks in that there was nothing they ever did wrong. There is nothing that is wrong with them. It's just that they've internalized so many lies about money and about themselves that have been blocking them. So once these lies start to release and the deeper wounds related to their families start to release, often the first thing that happens is that um, abundance just shows up in really random ways. So it's often through husbands or through promotions at work, or random people begin to give them money, or they start to get receive discounts, or it's like windshield wipers are being turned on and they're able to see the money making opportunities all around them, and they naturally begin to act on them. On a body level, many of my clients come to me and say, oh my God, I feel so tired. I feel so heavy. And I like to translate that into, you're not using as much adrenaline anymore to go through life. What you're experiencing is relaxation and well-being. So they notice that abundance is abundance is a natural state. And so we're really just removing the blockages in the way of them experiencing that completely normal natural state. And so yeah, it can be really freaky and crazy to be like, I just feel relaxed, like I'm not
Right.
jumping around like an energizer bunny, like money shows up and I'm not even working very hard for it, or I'm able to, I see like 20 new money generating opportunities in my life and I'm able to see which ones would be most profitable for me based on how I'm wired. So as the deep healing starts to happen, we can see more clearly what it is that we want, and we can see more clear the direct path that will get us there, and we have the self-worth to actually take it.
Yeah. Having the consciousness around that's really important too. I notice the immense value of consciousness as I, work through things myself or with other people, because if you can't see it, it's really hard to act on it and make something of it. And that's so important. Those are all great points. What are maybe some like simple actionable steps that listeners can take like right away to shift their relationship with money?
Yeah. So one thing that people can do is I've got little affirmation cards on my website. So if
Fun.
if you're kind of feeling like my approach with money so far has been stressful, and I just want to reiterate, yeah, I feel like all of us living on this planet, we feel it. Like the money world has a dark underbelly, and many of us have been impacted by it, and it just feels wrong and sticky and icky. And I'm here to share what I believe to be the truth about money. So you can find a new way, one that feels really happy and uplifting and lovely. And so these affirmation cards are a really great introduction to how blissful money can be and how it can feel to just have money figured out and, flowing, and for you to have all the financial resources that you would like to live a really lovely, wholesome, peaceful life. So my affirmation cards, hannabier.com/affirmations, are really good first step. And then the second thing that I'd love to invite you guys to do is to really begin to contemplate your relationship between you and your parents when we were little. Did it feel like there was always plenty of love? Like you could always depend on your parents to understand you, to connect with you, to guide you, to nurture you, to protect you? If so, you're probably listening to this podcast and money is like flowing for you. Like money is no problem. But if you're like so many of us who did not have that experience growing up, did it feel like love was always a little scarce? Like you would have loved to have more connection with your parents when you were little, like they were there sometimes they weren't. And if that is the case, just kind of think about the correlation between money. Does it always feel like you would like more money? Like you would like the craving more of those qualities that money can bring you, but you can never really get there. Like the satisfaction never really sets in. Or
Yeah.
for some of you, did you have a quite tumultuous relationship with your parents where it was like a roller coaster ride? And now it's the same with your money, where sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. At the core of it, it's really unpredictable. Or the last example I'm going to give you that's also really common is, do you hold a lot of shame around money? So many of my clients grew up with parents who did love them, but it came at a price. Like you needed to be nice to be loved, or you needed to have good grades to be loved, or you needed to fit into the family idea of who you needed to be loved, or you needed to go into a certain profession to be loved. And so it had to kind of contort yourself into something that you're not in order to receive love back then and money now. Are you in a career that really doesn't fit you?
Yeah.
Or do you continuously betray yourself in order to meet your needs through money? So begin to explore that a little bit for you. And, those insights will probably be a really good first step to start.
Absolutely. Those are great tips. Where where's the how well, for this first, how do you tend to work with people? Do you work with people one-on-one? Do you do group work? Do you have programs? What's your way of getting your teachings and your good news about money out into the world and all of that great healing that you provide?
Yeah, so my signature program is called Money Bliss because I believe that everyone should discover just how blissful and wonderful it feels to have all the money that you could ever need. So this is pretty much what we're creating in this program. It's a 6-month container and it's done in community because like what you said earlier, we can't figure out our own blocks by ourselves. To some extent we can do, introspection, but it's like trying to get a haircut. Like I can't cut my own hair. It'll look terrible. I need
Right.
somebody else to look at me and to help me and to guide me. So this work cannot be done alone. So we do it in community.
That's awesome. And it is so important. I mean, even with the most training and expertise in things, we still have the hardest time working out our own blocks and our own challenges and our own obstacles. And having another perspective on that is always important. So I'm always talking about how like coaches need coaches and experts need other experts. And we all need that person to hold space for us and to show us the things that are seemingly apparent, but yet we miss so easily. So, and it's just part of the human condition. I know a lot of people find that coming up for them as, unwarranted self-doubt or imposter syndrome or things like that, but it's really just being human. So it's great that you do that in community like that. That's awesome. And where you mentioned your website for the affirmation cards. Are there any other great places where people can, follow you or keep up with you or receive anything awesome from you?
Yeah, my website is a really good place to start. I've got a beautiful blog for you guys. So if you just want to explore this, it's a philosophy too. So if this is like a new philosophy for you, grab the affirmation cards, go to my website and just read a little bit and see how it feels in your body. You're welcome to follow me on Instagram, say hi. I love actually talking to people. It feels like sometimes nobody does that anymore. But if you message me on Instagram or if you send me an email, I will respond.
That's
I
awesome.
love talking to actual human beings. So
I
don't
do
be shy
too.
about that.
What's your Instagram handle?
It's Hanna Money Bliss.
Wonderful. So you guys can follow Hanna there. You can go grab those affirmation cards. I'm going to make sure all of this ends up in the show notes so that it's really easy for people to access all of the goodness that you're providing. Is there any other, final thoughts about money or transformation or healing or anything that you'd like to give us before we wrap up the episode?
I think I just want to touch back on what we said earlier. Your body knows there is this instinct within you that always wants to guide you back to your natural state. So if you feel pain or discomfort around your money situation, that's your body, your intuition signaling to you that you have strayed off of your path, that you are somehow not in alignment with the truth with a capital T, which is that abundance is. So your body is probably already nudging you in a certain direction. And I just want to encourage you to trust it and to move in that direction. It could be whatever tiny step you're being called to take.
Absolutely. And what would you say to someone who is feeling just really stuck? I mean, I know so many people are doing all sorts of things to get out of debt or to get ahead in business. And many of them are just not really enjoying the journey and they're feeling stuck and they're not understanding the steps they need to take or whatever else in order to get the wins that would really they think make them feel so much happier or more abundant. So what kind of advice would you give to somebody in that position?
Yeah. I've discovered that creating this transformation is 80% healing, which means, I'm clairvoyant. So when I look at a person, I don't just see their body, I see like colors all around. Like right now, when I look at you on video, Theresa, I see like colors and all of that. It's just,
What does it look like? I want to know. I want to
I've
know.
always been this way. Like there's yellow here, there's green next to your ear here, and then there's blue here, and your aura is about this around you. And then when I begin to read someone, I see like dark spots in their body, and then I ask those spots, like, what are you? And then I get like visions of like family members and ages and all of that. So I discovered that it's really 80% of it is healing. And you can think of it as like wiping the windshield clean. If you're driving a car that's like caked in mud and you wonder why you're not getting to your destination, it's not you. It's that the car is dirty. It's that you've driven, you've been on a long, long journey, depending on your age, maybe 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, and beyond. And we need to really clear out the gunk that you accumulate over the course of your life. We need to wipe the windshield clean. We need to clear you out. And then you can see more clearly. When your windshield is clean, you can see, oh, so there's like 50 potential paths. But you will be able to identify the one that actually gets you to where you want to go. And you can identify the most direct path. And that eliminates so much of the struggle and the efforting that you're doing currently. So instead of trying to do more things, focus on clearing yourself out. 80% of the magic is clearing yourself out. 20% of the magic, sometimes it's even less. Sometimes it's 90%, 10% is just taking action in the most direct way to get you directly to your end result.
That's awesome. So what does a clean windshield aura look like?
I like it when my clients' auras are really big. I like it like bigger than the house, bigger than the city. I like it to be so big that like the edges I can't even really see. And then I like it when the colors move. I like it when they're always like swirling and moving, because to me it means that I like movement forward. So if you think about a garden, there's all these micro movements that we don't even really detect. Like there's like cells separating and like little leaves growing. Like your garden, if you look at it now, it may look like nothing is happening. But seriously, on a like, if we speed it up, it would look like it's like it's an alive animal, right? Like so many micro movements are happening. So I love it when there's like movement in the aura, when like things are growing and happening, because that is the natural way. And that's usually when my clients feel really good. I like it when so at some point something appears in the core of their bodies, which I think is what many people call the soul essence. I didn't have a lot of intuitive training. I just like kind of say what I see. So sometimes people are like, "Oh, it's called that." I'm like, "I had no idea. It's just what I see." So I'm seeing that there's like colors appearing in the core and then kind of spreading out, and that to me is them beginning to embody who they actually are, like the soul essence. And that's when it gets really exciting, because then they begin to really embody the full impact of who they are on the planet.
And do you see those changes happening as you're working through blockages and things like that, like in the moment?
In the moment, this is how, so when I first when I was growing up, I've always been clairvoyant, and I just thought when I was a child, I would like point at things, and my friends couldn't see them. I was like, man, is anybody paying attention here? Why is everybody so distracted? Do they have bad eyesight? Like, what's going on? Because this is clearly there. I would say like the two on the bus is like glowing yellow. Isn't that funny? Like color, like different numbers have different colors to me.
Mhm.
Like if I visualize a three is always red. How come people don't see that? Are they blind? Like that was like 7-year-old me on my way to elementary school, just like, what is going on with this on the planet? And so I just kind of forgot about it for most of my life. And then when I became a life coach, when I was doing sessions with clients, I started to like notice all the colors move. And then I asked my clients, like, okay, so this like thing moved out of your belly just now. Did you feel that? Or, like this thing in your shoulder, did this thing happen when you were 7? Or like, so I started asking them questions, and it was very interesting for me to notice that they could feel it too, and that these experiences really had happened. And it was just so fascinating to me to see what the body stores. It really is a map of everything that we've experienced. And so when I go in and we clear the blockages, whether it's in the family system or in their own energy,
Right.
it's almost like I see dark clouds dissolve, or I see like colors move, and the body always knows what it wants to do. I'm just facilitating. I'm not saying like I have a picture of what my healthiest, happiest, so successful clients look like energetically. So of course we move them in that direction, but the body already knows what wants to be done next. So I kind of like I read the body and I say, oh, today, so this and this and this and this and this wants to be done. So we move the energy so it can kind of it sometimes looks like a little bubbling of energy. And then my clients like yawn and sigh and cry and giggle and
Right.
are like, ooh, this felt good, or ooh, I just had this insight, or ooh, this money just came in. And it's great, but all I'm doing is observing and facilitating. It's
That's
it's
awesome. I
crazy
did some
cool.
studying of auras and things when I was doing my original EFT training, and it's something I want to revisit. I never got amazing at seeing them the way that I wanted to, but my ADHD brain kind of goes all over the place with the ways that it can be applied to so many things. Like it would be so cool to see, like, as people are doing like emotional freedom techniques, how their auras change as they unblock things energetically and things like that. If somebody like bearing witness to those changes or what have you. I think that would really be really cool. Anyway, I was just geeking out on that. So thank you for answering all those aura questions. I find that stuff fascinating. And, I'm always curious. I wish there was a way to like, take a picture and see what your aura is doing on a day-to-day basis. Is there any good way to like capture it yourself?
I think there are machines. That's something that I don't know about. Like
Okay.
I've always been this way, so I don't know. It's almost like but I have a friend who went to see a naturopath, and she had her aura measured and she got a picture of it. And so every time she goes, she gets like an aura reading from
Oh,
a
neat.
machine, because that naturopath is not clairvoyant. And I thought, well, you could, in that case, kind of set up a machine like that in your home if you've got, if that's something that you would like to do, and kind of like take a sequence of photos and see what happens. But I mean, it's all electromagnetic. Like, I
Are
don't
you able
believe
to
that.
read your own aura? Like, can you feel or
Ooh,
see your own?
yeah, I'm just doing it. Yeah. But it feels weird because like I'm sitting in it. So now I'm seeing like
Right.
colors
Yeah.
all around me.
Uh-huh.
It's not a great,
It's like
it's
I'm in the
easier when I,
bubble.
yeah, like using a mirror is more helpful in that way. But also when I connect to my guides and angels, I sometimes go, like, if you ever see me in real life and I'm just like sitting on a bench going like this, I'm probably talking to someone who's like floating around me.
It's all good. I don't judge, and I find that actually to be pretty normal. I know it's not the normal or the mainstream for most people, but it should be. Like we should all realize all the things that are happening around us that we're so closed off to, and everybody would just be so much better off. But thank you for geeking out with me on that and allowing my ADHD tangent to go off in that direction. So, and I appreciate you being here. I really love everything that you shared. I'm glad that we got to connect, and I can't wait to go check out those affirmation cards, check out your website, and see all the awesome things that you're putting out there and the ways that you're helping people every day. So thanks for being here, Hanna.
Thank you, Theresa.
Thanks so much for listening. If you loved this episode, please share it with a friend or post on social media and tag me so I can personally connect and thank you. Until next time, keep taking bold and brave action steps towards becoming more of who you want to be in this world. You are capable, you are worthy, and you are enough. Keep shining your light.